You eat when we say you eat. You piss when we say you piss. You shit when we say you shit. These words, barked at the new arrivals of Shawshank State Penitentiary, set the stage for one of the bleakest environments ever captured on film. From the very first scene, we are thrown into a world of total control, of human beings stripped down to numbers, where even the most basic functions of life are dictated by men in power. And yet, within this world of brutality and despair, a quiet story of hope, of redemption, and of salvation unfolds. It is here, in the darkest of places, that one of the most profound modern parables takes root. And that is what makes the Shawshank Redemption so remarkable. Now here's the paradox that draws so many people to discuss this film at a deeper level. On the surface, Shawshank is a gritty prison drama filled with profanity, violence, and corruption. It was made by a cast and crew of people who, by most accounts, are not pushing a religious agenda. The only character who openly identifies as a Christian in the story, the warden, is exposed as one of the greatest hypocrites. And yet, when audiences watch this film, what they walk away with isn't despair, it's hope. What they carry isn't emptiness, but a strange sense of grace. Which leads us to the question, can a film like this, in all its grit and obscenity, actually be one of the greatest Christian allegories ever made? When Shawshank was first released in 1994, it wasn't an instant hit. In fact, it underperformed at the box office. But over time, through word of mouth and endless reruns on cable television, it climbed in popularity until it became one of the most beloved films of all time. Today, it sits at #1 on IMDb's top 250 movies voted by ordinary viewers from across the globe. That tells us something important. This isn't just a story that film critics or academics admire. It's a story that resonates deeply with ordinary people. And the reason for that, I would argue, is because it taps into something universal, something spiritual. It speaks to the deepest human longings, the longing for justice, the longing for freedom, and above all, the longing for redemption. At the center of this story is Andy Dufresne, a quiet, intelligent banker wrongfully convicted of murdering his wife and her lover. He is sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences and thrown into Shawshank, where he meets Ellis Boyd Redding, better known as Red. Red is our narrator, and through his eyes we watch Andy's transformation, or perhaps more accurately, we watch how Andy transforms everyone around him. Over 19 years, Andy suffers unimaginable cruelty, but instead of breaking, he becomes a source of strength. He builds a library, helps fellow inmates earn their high school diplomas, and even gives them fleeting moments of joy, like cold beer on a hot summer day or angelic music echoing through the prison loudspeakers. Andy becomes, in a sense, the light of Shawshank, refusing to let despair define him. This is where the film begins to reveal its deeper layer. Because Andy is not just a man surviving prison, he is quietly being portrayed as a Christ figure. Like Jesus, he is innocent of the crimes for which he is punished. Like Jesus, he suffers in silence, never lashing out, never surrendering his dignity. And like Jesus, he brings what can only be described as miracles to the people around him. The rooftop beer scene is the first example. Andy risks punishment simply to give his fellow prisoners a taste of freedom. For one brief afternoon, those hardened criminals feel like men again, not caged animals. In the opera scene, when Andy plays Mozart's Marriage of Figaro over the loudspeakers, the entire prison yard stops. Every man, regardless of his crime or his sentence, is lifted into another world. For those 3 minutes, Shawshank isn't a prison, it's a cathedral. Andy's role as teacher also mirrors Christ's role with his disciples. He builds the prison library, introduces his fellow inmates to books and education, and patiently invests in their growth. He is shaping them for a world they may one day re-enter, just as Christ prepared his followers for a kingdom yet to come. It is no coincidence that Red, the skeptic, becomes Andy's closest companion. Through Andy's example, Red, a man who once said hope is a dangerous thing, comes to believe in hope again. Andy's influence is so profound that it doesn't end with his escape. It transforms Red's very worldview, guiding him long after Andy is gone. But of course, no Christ story is complete without betrayal, suffering, and resurrection. Andy endures the humiliation of the warden's corruption, the abuse of predatory inmates, and the despair of a system designed to crush the human spirit. When the warden destroys evidence that could have proven Andy's innocence, it feels like a death sentence. Andy even requests a length of rope, leading Red and us to believe he might end his life. Just as Brooks, the old librarian, could not handle freedom and chose suicide, we fear Andy has succumbed to the same despair. But Andy's story is different. Where Brooks' story ended in death, Andy's story rises into life. And this is where the film delivers its most unforgettable twist. Andy doesn't hang himself. Instead, he escapes through a tunnel he's been digging for nearly 2 decades. He crawls through 500 yards of sewage, the ultimate symbol of human filth and corruption, and emerges reborn on the other side. The moment he bursts from the pipe into the rain, standing with his arms wide open, is a direct image of baptism. He has passed through death and come out alive. It's resurrection in cinematic form. What makes this resurrection even more powerful is the contrast it creates. The prisoners of Shawshank, by and large, fear freedom. They may hate the prison walls, but they cannot imagine life without them. Brooks is the most tragic example. After 50 years inside, freedom becomes a kind of exile. The world has changed, he is too old to start again, and so he takes his own life. His story is a warning. Without hope, freedom can be worse than prison. The same danger threatens Red. By the time he is paroled, he too is tempted by despair. The shadow of Brooks's death looms large. And yet Red remembers Andy. He remembers the man who told him hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. In the end, Red chooses to believe. He chooses to embrace hope, to break his parole, and to follow Andy to the Pacific coast of Mexico. And it's there, on the beach at Zihuatanejo, that the story finds its final image of paradise. Andy and Red reunited in a land of freedom and peace. For many, this is the cinematic equivalent of heaven, the promised land beyond suffering, the paradise that makes every trial worth enduring. Now consider the warden, Samuel Norton. On the surface, he is the film's most religious character. He quotes scripture, hangs the 10 Commandments on his wall, and insists that his prisoners memorize Bible verses. His motto is, "His judgment cometh, and that right soon." But behind this mask of piety, he is the most corrupt figure in Shawshank. He launders money, exploits prisoners for labor, and murders anyone who threatens his scheme. When he tells Andy that salvation lies within, he means it as a cruel joke, hiding Andy's rock hammer inside a hollowed-out Bible. Yet, in that irony, the words come true. Salvation does lie within patience, within perseverance, within faith. The warden's hollow religion collapses, but Andy's genuine hope endures. This is perhaps the most powerful critique in the film. Religion without love, without truth, without justice is nothing more than hypocrisy. But faith, whether you call it hope, perseverance, or grace, has the power to redeem. Andy embodies this true faith, while the warden embodies the false. In the end, the hypocrite shoots himself, and the man of hope walks free. What makes Shawshank so extraordinary is how it weaves all these threads together. The personal story of Andy, the symbolic images of baptism and resurrection, the critique of false religion, and the universal longing for redemption. And it does all this in a way that speaks to everyone, not just to people of faith. That's why a film filled with swearing, violence, and corruption has become for many a profoundly spiritual experience. It's Christianity retold without the trappings of religion. It's gospel smuggled into the heart of a prison film. And maybe that's why it resonates so strongly. Because whether or not we've ever set foot in a prison, we all know what it feels like to be trapped by guilt, by fear, by regret, by the invisible walls of our lives. Shawshank reminds us that there is a way out, that freedom is possible, that hope is stronger than despair. Andy's escape isn't just a prison break. It's a metaphor for the human spirit breaking free from whatever holds us captive. So when we ask whether The Shawshank Redemption is the greatest Christian film ever made, the answer depends on how we define Christianity. If we mean hollow religiosity, rules, and hypocrisy, then no, it isn't. But if we mean the story of an innocent man who suffers, who brings hope